Belkin backs off Matter support, and Russia backs off the iPhone. This is MacVoices. Today's MacVoices is supported by Kolide. Kolide ensures only secure devices can access your cloud apps. It's zero trust, tailor-made for Okta. Book a demo today at kolide.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is a talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, this is MacVoices Live. It's Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are. That has a special meaning tonight we'll get to in a second. We do this every Tuesday night on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. We'd love to have you join us in the chat room. A bunch of our friends are in there already now, wishing us well, and I need all the well wishes I can get with this crew. So we're going to go around. We have a number of topics tonight. We'll let you know who's here, and then we'll take it from there. So I'm just going to take my screen in order to make sure I get everybody. So beating out David Ginsburg tonight in my corner of the Angels is Web Bixby, all spiffed up. Web, good to see you.
Yeah, tonight is the Mac Live version of Hollywood Squares. I'll take David Ginsburg to block, please. So anyway, thank you, Chuck. It's good to be here.
Good to have you. And coming in second only to Web Bixby is David Ginsburg. David, good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Thanks for having me. And this is going to be a great panel tonight. So look out. We're going to have some fun.
Yeah, it is going to be fun. So when I say whatever time it is, wherever you are, this applies to a first-time guest on MacVoices Live. Kyle Swagger is here. Kyle, it's good to see you.
Oh, good to be here, and thanks for inviting me on. I mean, this is going to be fun. I can tell that already from pre-show.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you to explain why, whatever time it is, wherever you are, what that means to you.
Well, what it means to me is I'm in Manila, Philippines. So it is currently 8:05 a.m. here and 80 degrees. And being the fact that it is morning, yeah, I may have a nice polo shirt on, but I'm still in my underwear.
You fit right in, Kyle. You fit right in.
All right.
I'm not sure if he's channeling ZZ Top or the Blues Brothers, but Guy Serle is back.
I like to think of myself as the Paul Lind of MacVoices.
That's pretty good.
That's a picture.
Thank you. No, I've got some light sensitivity right now, so that's why I'm wearing dark sunglasses. Not because I'm just so cool.
I really thought you were on a mission from God.
Oh, that's always. That's constant.
But
constant. The mission always changes.
Mm-hmm.
The mission always changes.
Jim Ray is here, and I said in the pre-show, I can't decide if it's just cold where he is or if he's turned into a monk.
Yes. Monks. What does monk have to do with it?
Why? I don't know. You're like all in light colors with the head covering. I mean, you look almost virginal.
He's celebrating Ramadan.
Well, it's an apple.
Well,
I'm an apple.
Yeah, we couldn't see that. Okay, so all right, so that makes
well,
sense.
you got the logo here.
Oh yeah, okay, all right.
With this panel, though, it might be good to have a monk on. We need some guidance, that's for sure.
Yeah, God is with us.
Bless you, my son.
Yeah.
Can you do that? Are you allowed? Oh,
I just did.
We're all self-ordained.
Oh boy. Jeff Gamet is here, and Jeff, for once, you might be one of the saner people in this crowd. I'm not sure.
Well, what does that say about some of the life choices you've made this evening, Chuck?
Jeff is always one of the saner ones in this crowd.
Again, what does that say about Chuck's life choices?
Yes, and unfortunately, Kyle beat Jeff to the question of the attire below the camera tonight. So, sorry, Jeff.
Oh no, it's fine. I just assume that everyone is pants free below the camera line.
Kyle, don't step on Jeff's underwear.
No, I'm sorry. I completely forgot about it. It's very sacred territory.
There's plenty of underwear to share.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Eric, I agree. Eric Bolden is just like, what am I doing here? What?
Suddenly there's 8 people instead of 9. Huh.
Must be a connection issue.
Say something, Eric, just to let me know you're all right.
yeah. Speechless. Totally speechless.
Yeah.
Nice to be here, but I have no idea how to follow that.
Yeah. No,
Gonna leave it alone.
you're smart man. Smart man. Last but absolutely not least, Mr. Ben Roethig has joined us as well. Ben, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Chuck. It's always great to join the insane asylum.
Yeah. Yes. And you fit right in, actually.
I'll bring my straight jacket.
There you go.
Now
There you
it's
go.
a party.
Well, I picked out a number of stories, and we always are up for ad libs. But the first one I'm going to throw into our private chat, that it appears that Belkin has backed off on Matter support for its smart home devices and is quote unquote rethinking this. And I couldn't decide if this is a big story or a little story, or doesn't it matter? Because Belkin makes one of the most popular switches out there, the Wemo, and the fact that it's not going to support Matter like they said they were. I mean, what does this mean? Does anybody have any interpretation or thoughts on this, or is it just we don't care? Ben's with the first one with his hand up. Go for it, Ben.
If anything, this is saying something about Belkin. I have seen multiple Matter products released by companies like Miras. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. But the only company that seems to be having any problems with this right now is Belkin. And I have to wonder if that has something to say about their R&D budget.
Well, I wonder if it's more along the lines of they want the whole pie. And if they're playing in a bigger playground, they don't get the whole pie.
Now, Belkin's never been their own playground kind of company. They've always done the stuff that plays on other people's platforms. So I don't know if that would be it. But it wouldn't surprise me if they managed to engineer themselves either through software or hardware into a corner that they can't quite figure out how to get out of. And the fact that they said, yes, we're in, and now they're saying, maybe we're not. This does not surprise me at all. I was actually expecting at some point Belkin would start dragging their feet, excuse me, and then probably just kind of let everything sit. And then instead of being a company that's being touted as an early adopter, they'll come up at the tail end, which they have done in the past as well. So this just seems like their modus operandi. I'm sorry, I didn't raise my hand.
It's all right. Well, one of the reasons that I really jumped on this, I thought was interesting. Apparently, in an exchange with The Verge, the comment was made by Vice President of Global Communications, Jen Y. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. That they're rethinking their approach to the smart home, and went on to write that Wemo will bring new Matter products to market when it can find a way to differentiate them.
But isn't the point that it's all supposed to work together?
Exactly, Guy. Exactly. And so you're differentiating yourself by basically
doing something different.
Well, or ostracizing yourself from everybody else, or just trying to make a closed environment. I mean, that just really rang kind of hollow with me. Jeff is.
I like to come up with crackpot theories on the fly. Channeling my inner Kelly. All right. So if they're giving us the PR speak of they want to differentiate, what if that means that they have found that the market for things like smart plugs has become I don't want to say like a bottom feeder market, but Prices have been driven super low. The products are all basically the same thing, just different logos. I mean, I have a TP-Link switch sitting around here somewhere that I picked up one day and couldn't figure out why it wasn't showing up in the Wemo app, and then realized it wasn't a Wemo switch. I mean, that's how similar all these products are. So is that Belkin's way of saying this is not a market that we feel like we can make the sort of money we want in? Therefore, we are not going to make products for this space.
Sounds plausible.
Yeah, that does sound plausible. I mean, it's a very oversaturated market right now.
Yeah.
Jeff, I like it. I like the thinking. It just surprises me that they would just take themselves completely out of it. Because now, if I'm going to go and buy a new switch, I'm probably going to make Wemo farther down on the list, whereas before it would have been right at the top.
Yeah, and now I'm worried about the investment that I made in Wemo smart switches. I mean, I have one of their smart switches, at least one, in every single room in my place. How long before I need to just replace those with something that offers me better compatibility?
But compatibility with what?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Eric, you have a thought.
Yeah, it took Wemo quite a bit to get their thread support. That wasn't instant. So maybe they're just waiting to buy some time. I mean, I have to say, I really like the Wemo doorbell that I've got. And since it's the only doorbell out of all of them that I've tried that works, I'm happy with thread support, and I don't really care. Doesn't matter for me right now. So if it takes a while before something happens, I'm willing to wait.
I just wonder how many. I'm sorry, Chuck.
Go.
I just wonder how. I mean, we're sitting here in our tech group right now, and we're talking about how much matter does matter or doesn't matter. But I wonder how it actually matters to the actual public out there when they go and buy it. If what exactly are they looking for? Do they even care? I think most people just want what's the cheapest, plug it in, does it work? And I don't know if Belkin is trying to find their difference in the market right now because it is oversaturated, or are they possibly trying to do something within their own ecosystem?
And I think Kyle's onto something here. I mean, right now, the average consumer isn't going to know jack about Matter. They'll see works with Google, works with Apple HomeKit.
Right.
These are completely HomeKit compatible. They're, quite frankly, one of the better HomeKit switches, or some of the better HomeKit products out there with Thread. So they may not think right now it's worth their while to invest in Matter. Why? I mean, as far as Apple users are concerned, it's really no different than HomeKit.
David?
Yeah, I was going to say too, the article also says, and I was just thinking about that before I even read the last paragraph there, that back in 2016, Belkin decided to not even, they canceled their plans to even be part of HomeKit. So I remember buying those plugs and I was like, okay, I bought this plug, it doesn't even work with HomeKit. What's going on here? And it took them a good long while until they finally updated the firmware for it to finally be compatible to that. It seems a track record of having that, and now they're just going into the Matter side of things, making a change too. You kind of have to wonder, where are they going with this Wemo brand in itself?
That's an interesting point. I guess, Kyle, you broke it down pretty well. But any way you take it, if I'm going to do any kind of research on this, now Wemo or the Belkin product is going to be one of those that isn't 100% compatible, like allegedly Matter will make everything else. And so again, that's going to push it way down, no matter how cheap it is or isn't. I can't find a good reason. I understand the differentiation argument. I just can't find a good reason other than if they wanted to limit themselves or create a premium product, then price it at a premium price. They have a great reputation, so why not leverage that? Why just step away from the option completely? This edition of MacVoices is supported by Kolide. Kolide ensures only secure devices can access your cloud apps. Learn more at kolide.com/MacVoices. Our sponsor, Kolide, has some big news. If you're an Okta user, they can get your entire fleet to 100% compliance. How? If a device isn't compliant, the user can't log into your cloud apps until they fix the problem. It's that simple. Kolide patches one of the major holes in Zero Trust architecture. Kolide patches one of the major holes in Zero Trust architecture, device compliance. Without Kolide, IT struggles to solve basic problems like keeping everyone's OS and browser up to date. Unsecured devices are logging into your company's apps because there's nothing there to stop them. Kolide is the only device trust solution that enforces compliance as part of authentication, and it's built to work seamlessly with Okta. The moment Kolide's agent detects a problem, it alerts the user and gives them instructions to fix it. If they don't fix the problem within a set time, they're blocked. Kolide's method means fewer support tickets, less frustration, and most importantly, 100% fleet compliance. Visit kolide.com/MacVoices to learn more or book a demo. That's Kolide, KOLIDE.com/MacVoices. Thanks to Kolide for supporting MacVoices.
The problem, I think, with the premium argument is it's not like computers. It's not like Mac OS versus Windows or iOS versus Android. It all pretty much transparently works the same, whether you have switches and knobs and dials or what have you from one company or the other. If they work with the controller that you have, then it just works. So trying to create a premium brand in a market that doesn't really call for it, I think is a mistake. That you're better off trying to stay, not be the maverick, trying to make sure that the stuff that you make is going to work with everybody else's stuff so that you can sell more stuff.
So if I understood you, Guy, then you think that they should be including Matter?
I believe that they should, because I don't think that not some, because Apple tried that with HomeKit, and for the most part, people ignored HomeKit. For the most part, they went with the other standard because that was cheaper and that was where more of the companies were, and their switches worked just as well as the other people's switches. So people generally didn't care. So if you're going to have an overarching standard like Matter, then as a company trying to create products that work within the smart home, you want to make sure that your products are going to work with the prevailing standard, or you're going to be left out in the dark.
Okay, so I'll throw it out the chat room. I mean, how many of you, does this make a difference to you with what you have now or what you would be purchasing in the future? I mean, how do you feel about it? And how many people on the panel here have Wemo switches at the moment?
I do.
Okay, that's a pretty healthy number. And then to Jeff's point, I mean, how long should we expect these devices to be usable before they are no longer supported? Now, I understand that this doesn't mean that the Wemo switches are not going to be supported, but they're not going to be upgraded. They're not going to be I don't know if they're upgradable, but they're not going to be upgraded. And so should I be looking at another brand that will support?
But I'm wondering, is that an endless game now? Because it's such a consumable market anymore that you buy into something. It seems like I mean, I hate to compare it to like a phone, but it's like every 2 years, every year, sometimes for a lot of people, it's a new phone, it's the new features, it's the new this, the old tech gets thrown out the window. I don't know if it has something to do with because tech is moving so quick right now, which it really has been, particularly in the last 5 years, or if it's more of let's just keep bringing them in and spending more money, which, as a company, that's exactly what you want. So you're profitable. I just don't know if I'm going to brands right now. Is it a brand for me? Do I trust the brand, or am I trusting the price because I know in 2 years or 3 years, unfortunately, I'm going to have to replace it anyways?
Will you? Will you have to replace it? These are for the most part, these are simple switches. They're either on or they're off.
Yeah.
You can build some more, programmability into it and set up schedules and all the rest of that. But at the end of the day, it's for the most part, and that's not for everything, of course, but for the most part, it's either on or it's off. And if that's all it's going to do, then the only differential between stuff that's out now and stuff that'll be out 5 years from now may be the method of communications, the way that it speaks back to the network.
That I agree with. If you have something that only works with what's the current 11 standard, 802.11 whatever,
AX.
And okay,
AX, yeah.
AX. So you're on 802.11ax, and all of your devices work with 802.11ax. And 5 years from now, Google says, "Hey, we can get twice the bandwidth if everybody moves to 802.12 or whatever the next standard is going to be." Then that's going to make everything that you have under 802.11ax and the subsequent revisions of that going forward obsolete, because they're not going to operate on the same standard. So then you do have to replace everything if you're going to replace your entire backbone.
True. You're right about that. You'd have to, it's starting from scratch again. That's true.
I mean, the other part about that, right now, smart home devices are moving away from Wi-Fi onto Thread. That was supposed to be part of the Matter changeover, but because there's been a little bit of dragging the feet on certification, you saw kind of this weird middle ground where you had some Thread devices that are not going to be moved over to Matter, but most of the stuff going forward will be Thread compatible.
Webb, you're sitting up there looking so dignified. Is this a good business decision? I mean, you've heard all the tech here, but is this a good business decision?
Couple of things. First of all, it is a very crowded marketplace. So of course, when you get credit, if you can't promote yourself like Apple does as a premium brand, then you're going to compete on price. And by competing on price, you're going to start having lower margins, and it's going to be a very difficult business to make money in. My personal experience is I've heard of Matter. I understand its concept. I haven't done any homework on it. I have a bunch of Wemo plugs, and they're all sitting in a box down in the garage. And when Christmas comes around, I need to get up all the Christmas lights and all the Christmas decorations. I use Wemo for that, and it works perfectly. Okay, it does exactly what I want it to do. And then come about the first or second week in January, I take everything down. I put the Wemo plugs back in the box, and I don't see them for another 11, 10 and a half months. So I'm happy with them. My point here, and I do control them within the Home app, which which is HomeKit compatible. I'm pleased with it. Am I prepared to have to replace them for some specific reason? They get end of life. Yeah, I'll do that. But in the meantime, Matter could be important for me in other ways, but for how I use my Wemo switches, I'm not that urgent and thinking about upgrading those or changing them out. So they do what they do for me what they want. As Guy said, it's a switch. It's very binary. It's on or it's off, and that's kind of the end of it. So like I said, I got about 10 of them that I'm using throughout the house during Christmas time, and they all work at the same time. Every once in a while, one loses its connection. I got to unplug it and plug it back in, have it reestablish its connection. That's not constant, but every once in a while something happens. And then I have a whole nother brand does the same thing for the outdoor lights, because those Wemo plugs are not all weather, if you will. So I got the outdoor lights and the indoor lights and all that. So I like them. They work for me. If I have to change them out at some point, I'll think about it. But I'm wondering if, remember Steve Jobs said one time when they were talking about why they don't have Blu-ray support. Today it's not that important, but back then, and what did he say is Blu-ray is a big bag of hurt because of the licensing fees. Okay, so I'm wondering if there's a licensing matter that's going on here, and maybe that's one of the things that Belkin's talking about. It's a low margin business, and then we got to pay a royalty to someone else. I don't know. I don't know if that's the case or not, but I'm wondering if there's some other business reason that's going on besides just whether they adopt it or not. So those are my thoughts, Chuck.
You brought up one thing that I always think is interesting, and that is this is how you use the Belkin switches. And I think that really is going to factor in big to this as far as what we have existing, what Jeff has existing. He says he's invested a lot in Wemo switches. And will he, go somewhere else now, or will he replace, or will you just ride it into the ground?
I will ride them into the ground. And my expectation is that Belkin's not going to end Wemo support or support for Wemo products. There we go. This is something that they will continue to invest in on some levels. So they will continue producing products. They will continue doing software updates. It wouldn't surprise me if at some point the rest of the market moves on from what these switches are, but the software will still be there for a long time. And so, I'll just keep using them until they either start physically failing or there's some other reason why they become inoperative, which would probably be a software thing. As far as what happens when new Wi-Fi standards come out, doesn't matter, because they always make sure that new Wi-Fi standards have backwards compatibility. It's okay, Guy. It's okay. We'll get through it together. You don't need to cry. But if it makes you feel better, it's okay to cry.
I'm so sad. I'm so sad.
Yeah. So, but look at what we have for smart home devices today, 2.4 gigahertz. And we've moved on. Someone in the chat, because I'm actually paying attention to it tonight, I think it was Cletus, was asking, having these things moved on to 5 gigahertz? Nope. And they're not going to,
no reason.
They don't have any reason to. And it's not worth the investment. So I'll just keep using these. And
plus also you'll have better range with 2.4.
Yeah. Better through walls.
Yeah. So,
But that also means that you have to have a router or a hub or something that will do that 2.4. Now I've got I've got the Eero, and that automatically generates a 2.4 gigahertz network. So I'm good. But there's some out there that don't, and you have to end up then figuring out a way to have a 2.4 gigahertz, or you can't get your
Wait, there's companies that are doing Wi-Fi routers that don't have 2.4 gigahertz on them.
I thought there were some at CES that.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, and at the same time, it surprises me.
Okay. Well, one reason I brought this whole thing up, because there's one other factor that we haven't gotten into. On Sunday, I was at home here working, and the electricity went out. And what ended up happening was about a block and a half over, there was a fire. And so they just shut the power down to the whole neighborhood until they could figure out, what was going on and what, if it should or shouldn't be. But when the power came back on, man, I had a lot of things to reset. And what I discovered sort of quite by accident is that the U bulbs behaved properly. Once the network came back up, I could tell everything to turn it off and they would go off. I could tell the Belkin switches to go off and they would go off. Some of the third-party things I've been tempted with along the way, not so much. They required a bit more hand-holding or maybe even a physical disconnection. So, I'm looking at this and thinking, okay, this is why I bought premium switches and premium bulbs and all that, because they behave, they work. Now, it doesn't mean that the Belkin switches are going to stop working that I've invested in. It just is going to cast a doubt in my mind. And I keep coming right back to that, but that's the way my thinking goes.
I think we're all in agreement. Is it a good idea for them to do this? No, I don't. In the end, I don't think it is a good idea. But apparently, maybe for a business sense for them, it is for them, at least currently.
Yeah, well, I hope so. Because Belkin's a great company. They make a lot of great products.
Agree.
So that's another reason this was sort of a surprise. Let's see. Next story that I wanted to paste in here. I don't know if this will get political or not, but what the heck. Apparently, the Kremlin has banned iPhones because of concern over espionage from the West.
Now, come on, we always knew Putin was a droid.
Yeah, some of his appearances recently, yeah, I agree with you.
I mean, to be perfectly honest, would we let a Russian or Chinese phone within the Pentagon or the White House? Oh, hell no.
There are probably Chinese phones in the Pentagon right this moment.
With TikTok on it.
Yeah.
TikTok too.
Most phones, Huawei that's like a whole different level of Chinese phones. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, all the phones that we're currently using, including iPhones, they're all made in China. So for I think this is just more along the lines of, Apple has publicly, not gone with the story for Putin. And, what was it? They fined Apple some ridiculous amount of money over some third-party apps, or I don't remember what the story is now. But I think it's all just a matter of, well, you're doing these things to us, and Apple is a Western country based in the United States, so we're going to do this to you. And, quite frankly, I don't think the Russian market is all that big anyway. So for Apple, it's probably like, okay, you don't want us there anymore. Then we won't worry about it too much, and we'll be back once you're gone. Which can't come fast enough.
So the question I thought about, though, is, okay, if they are not going to use iPhones, what phones are they going to use? Are they going to use Android? Really?
Guess so.
Where it's easier to install espionage tools?
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly right.
Landlines.
There we go.
Well, I mean, this isn't all that dissimilar to what the Chinese were doing to Western reporters as they were trying to report in the Western provinces of China. They would literally force them to hand their phones over along with access to it so that they could put software on it and know exactly where the reporters were and what pictures they were taking and the stories that they were posting. And there was no choice. If you didn't go along with it, then there would be like, okay, well, then you can't go. That's how China does things.
That's communism. Gotta love it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a show title.
And they'll tell you, you gotta love it.
Oh,
You
yeah.
better love it.
Better love it, or you will love things no more.
Yeah.
This MacVoices Live panel is back next time to talk about which smartphones Russia will be using, who won when the cast of Ted Lasso went to the White House, text message legislation, and a whole lot more. That's next time on MacVoices. I hope to see you then. As always, I'm Chuck Joyner. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.